full and strong commitment by EU member states to intensify and accelerate fiscal consolidation. For instance, Portugal and Spain announced significant new measures of fiscal consolidation and structural reform only some days ago. And this is a very important step towards credible and accelerated consolidation of public finances by these two countries. This also means that in Europe we need an exit strategy with differentiation based on different situations, economic and fiscal situations where our member states find themselves. This means that the countries with no or little fiscal space should intensify and accelerate fiscal consolidation and front-load concrete measures to this effect. That's what Portugal and Spain and of course Greece are doing. Meanwhile, countries with some fiscal space should not accelerate their consolidation. Why so? Because we want to ensure that we are not facing a contraction in Europe, but we can maintain sufficient preconditions for economic growth, not only fiscal consolidation. Both are needed, and we need to find the right balance both in Europe as well as in the global economy. The Eurogroup and the ECOFIN, that is the finance ministers of the European Union, will focus on these issues, policies concerning exit strategy, fiscal consolidation and economic growth in the next days and weeks. The next meeting of the Eurogroup and ECOFIN will take place already next Monday and Tuesday. The second leg indeed is a growth strategy. We need to upgrade productivity and growth potential in Europe. We need to reinforce our capacity to innovate, our capacity in terms of education, and we need to reform our labor, product and services markets. Altogether, this both strands, the Consolidation Pact and the growth strategy, constitute Europe 2020, which is our strategy for sustainable growth and job creation in Europe. And that is to what all the member states of the European Union have subscribed themselves to. In fact, before going to the issues of lessons learned and how to reinforce economic governance, I want to say a few words about the EBRD region, where there are still important crisis-related risks and structural reform challenges that need to be addressed in line with the European Union, in fact. Every effort should of course be made to encourage financial flows into the region. And I can say that we highly value the efforts undertaken by the EBRD to mitigate the impact of the crisis in all its countries of operations. The bank has offered a flexible and robust crisis response, and we see that the role of the bank is instrumental to help the region to sustain and strengthen its economic recovery. Russia, Turkey and Ukraine are important countries of EBRD operations with quite strong prospects for economic recovery. Particular attention is, however, also necessary in southeastern Europe, where the recovery is currently lagging and where the reform efforts need to be accelerated and intensified. European Commission systematically promotes close cooperation and joint initiatives with the EBRD, the EIB, and other international financial institutions. And we see that it is essential to ensure that the international and regional financial institutions have the necessary operational and risk-bearing capacity to play their role to the full. And this is why we have strongly supported the capital increase of the EBRD. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, what are then the lessons learned from the crisis concerning Europe's economic governance? I admit this concerns mostly the European Union, but as there are many candidate countries and potential candidates, their representatives in the audience, this is, I trust, also relevant for you. And in fact, these are rather universal policy challenges, I assume, relevant for all the countries of the EBRD operations. First, a caveat. Let's recall that the first 10 years of the euro have been a success story, but at the same time we must acknowledge its systemic shortcomings. Peer pressure has lacked teeth. Good times were not used to reduce public debt, and macroeconomic imbalances were ignored. The Commission proposed last Wednesday new measures to reinforce economic governance and preventive budgetary surveillance in Europe. In a way, we are now proposing to do the theory for what we have been doing in practice in the recent weeks. I'm glad that, by the way, French Minister of Finance, Christine Lagarde, yesterday, to my understanding, already outlined and highlighted many of these issues and endorsed the Commission's proposals. These will be the core policy agenda of the European Union in the coming weeks and months, and therefore, indeed, very topical issues also for today's discussions. The key principles are prevention is always better than correction, and we need to broaden surveillance from pure fiscal surveillance to broader and deeper macroeconomic surveillance in order to trace potential risks to macroeconomic stability early on and to be able to tackle them more effectively. In a nutshell, the aim is to reinforce the economic union to complement the currently stronger monetary union. First, this proposal is based on three building blocks. First, we must reinforce both the preventive and corrective arms of the Stability and Growth Pact. The essential cornerstone is to coordinate fiscal policy in advance, in time, in order to ensure that national budgets are consistent with the jointly agreed European obligations, so that they won't put at risk the stability of the euro area as a whole and of the other member states of the Union. Those who are worried about parliamentary sovereignty, and I'm a former member of a national and the European Parliament myself, so I'm fully aware of these sensitivities. I can tell you that our intention certainly is not to go through the national budgets, budget line by budget line, well into bureaucratic nitty-gritty. No way. We don't have any intention nor resources for that. However, what we want is that the broad budgetary guidelines, and especially fiscal balance, would be discussed by the finance ministers, peer-reviewed, and recommendations given to member states if they deviate from the commonly agreed policy stance in the Union. Public debt has not been sufficiently reduced in good times, and therefore we propose that the debt criterion will be properly implemented at last and taken into account in parallel with the deficit criterion in